Okay. Hey, so this line graph, I am going to grade the Skittles genetic drift line graph. Very difficult, right? If it looks like you free-handed it, it's going to be a 0. So make sure when you make your line graph that you're taking your time and you're doing the best that you can. And I'm going to use a ruler kind of as an example here so that you can see. But let's say that you started a line graph on your handout and you don't like it. Then go get a piece of copy paper. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes to make a great line graph. If you're not doing some of these things that I'm going to show here, you probably don't have a great line graph. So let's say this is your copy paper. When you're making your y-axis and your x-axis, they need to be straight lines. They need to be straight up and down, perpendicular. So when you make those lines, this is just how I do it. You don't have to do it this way, but you need to do something similar so that you have straight lines. I always hold the ruler up against the edge of the paper and just leave like a millimeter so I can see that the space is the same all the way up and down. Junior. So I can see the space is the same all the way up and down, and then I make my line. And that'll give me enough space over here probably to do my labels, right? Now, I don't just slap a y-axis on there. I'm going to pick somebody here. Zane, do you remember what your greatest number was yesterday? Like of Skittles? Was it 21, 24?
17.
17?
I think, yeah.
Well, it would have been a multiple of 3, right?
Wait.
So it could have been 18 or 15.
It was 21.
21, okay. So I already know, listen. I already know that I'm going to have, if I'm going portrait, I'm going to have at least 21 centimeters I can work with. So if I know my greatest number of Skittles is 21, I'm going to make this easy on myself, and I'm going to make sure that my y-axis is exactly 21 centimeters long. So I'll line everything up, and I'm not only going to make sure it's straight, but I'm going to make that y-axis exactly 21 centimeters so that down the road, when I'm doing my increments, it's really easy for me to get exactly what I need because my highest number is 21 and I made my line 21 centimeters. Now, I say this, 25 would be good too. And I'll get to that later. In fact, let's just do that. I'm going to say for this one I'm doing 25. And I'll come back to it. I'll come back to why I did that. So if you're sitting there saying, Mr. O'Hare, why'd you do 25 instead of 21? I'm going to come back to it and you'll figure it out. So the x-axis, you only have 4 generations, so a multiple of 4 would be good. But do the same thing. Make sure it's the same spacing all the way across. You got a perpendicular line. And let's just say that I'm going to make this, doesn't matter, a multiple of 4 would be great, but let's say it's 20 centimeters. Whatever, 20 centimeters would be good. So down here on the x-axis, you'll start with 0 for generations. And then if I did 20 centimeters, every 5, or it doesn't even need to be every 5, I guess. Well, I guess you need 4. So you need 5, 10, 15, 20. They're even spaced. That's generation 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to look good. Guys, that's going to look good. I did 25 centimeters over here, and you all gave me weird looks. But our number only goes up to 21. We don't need to go to 25. You're right. But it'd be better to go too high than to go too low, and then your line's going outside of your graph space. Most people did too many horizontal grid lines. I saw a whole bunch of graphs yesterday that had too many horizontal grid lines. How many horizontal grid lines are there on your example paper that's taped to your desk? 3, 4, right? Not very many. There's quite a bit of space between those lines. Here's what I would do. Zane, if my highest number was 21, I'd go to 25 and I would just put a mark every 5 centimeters. So I know that this is 25, and if I go every 5 centimeters and I go up by 5s, that's going to get me to 25, right? So I go up, put a mark at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I would use a ruler. I wouldn't freehand it like that. And then you know you got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Of course, you're going to have labels, generations, numbers of individuals. But now you're set up for success. And then last point here don't just freehand lines, and don't just put a ruler up there and say, I think that's going to be straight, I think that's going to be straight, I think that's going to be straight. They might be straight, but they're not going to be parallel. If you want your lines to be parallel, you measured these every 5 centimeters from the x-axis. So go over here on the other side and put a dot every 5 centimeters from the x-axis. And then you just connect those dots and your lines are going to be perfect. Everybody good with that? If you're not connecting dots, then it's not going to be parallel, it's not going to look great, and you're trying to make this look great. Thank you.